in the heart of what is now northern Nigeria. Long before colonial maps carved the land into borders, there existed a network of powerful city-states bound by trade, culture, and ambition. Among them stood a kingdom that would rise above many others. Zazzau. A land of warriors, merchants, and rulers who understood one truth: power belonged to those who could defend it. And from this land, destiny chose a queen. Queen Amina of Zazzau. But before she became a legend, before armies marched at her command, before her name inspired both fear and respect, she was a young girl watching, learning, preparing. Born into royalty in the 16th century, Amina was the daughter of Queen Bakwit, a woman who had already proven that leadership was not limited by gender. Her palace was not just a place of comfort, it was a place of strategy, politics, and decisions that shaped the future. And Amina paid attention to everything. While others focused on tradition, she focused on strength. She watched the soldiers train under the scorching sun. She studied how commanders gave orders, how formations moved, how victories were won, and how defeats happened. She understood early that power was not given. It was taken. By the time she reached her teenage years, Amina had already begun training like a warrior. She rode horses with speed and control, learned how to wield weapons with precision, and developed a mind that could think faster than most commanders twice her age. At around 16, she had already earned her place among Zazzau's fighters. Not because she was a princess, but because she was capable. She entered battle not as a figure to be protected, but as a force to be reckoned with. And slowly, something began to change. Soldiers started to trust her. Commanders started to respect her. Enemies started to hear her name. At that time, the Hausa states, such as Kano, Katsina, and Zaria, were not just cities. They were centers of trade, wealth, and influence. Caravans moved across the Sahara carrying gold, salt, leather, and knowledge. Whoever controlled the routes controlled the future. And Amina saw an opportunity. But she was not yet queen. When her mother ruled, Amina became one of the leading figures in the military. She didn't just follow orders, she began shaping them. Battle after battle, she proved something rare. Consistency. Victory wasn't luck for Amina. It was preparation meeting opportunity. Then came the shift that would change everything. After the death of her brother Karama, the throne of Zazzau passed to Amina. And the moment she became queen, the kingdom transformed. Because Amina did not see the throne as a place to sit. She saw it as a command center. Almost immediately, she began organizing campaigns, strategic, calculated, relentless. She didn't wait for threats to come to her. She became the threat. Mounted on horseback, armored like the warrior in your thumbnail, strong, focused, unshaken, Amina led her army herself. This alone made her different. Many rulers commanded from a distance. Amina commanded from the front. She rode into battle with her soldiers, faced the same dangers, and shared in the same risks. And that changed everything. Because when a leader stands beside their army, the army becomes unstoppable. Her strategy was built on three principles: speed, precision, control. Her forces moved quickly, striking before enemies could fully prepare. She understood terrain, timing, and psychological warfare. Sometimes, victory wasn't just about strength, it was about fear. And Amina knew how to create it. As her campaigns expanded, Zazzau's territory grew beyond anything it had ever been before. Her armies moved south into new regions, pushing into lands that had never been under Zazzau's control. Each victory brought more than land. It brought influence. It brought resources. It brought dominance. But Amina wasn't just thinking about winning battles. She was thinking about keeping them won. And this is where her brilliance truly showed. After conquering territories, she ordered the construction of massive defensive walls around key cities. These became known as Ganuwar Amina, Amina's walls. They were not just structures. They were statements. They told the world, this land is no longer up for debate. These walls protected trade routes, secured cities, and made it incredibly difficult for enemies to reclaim what she had taken. Even centuries later, traces of these walls still stand, echoing her legacy. And while her empire expanded physically, it also expanded economically. Trade flourished under her protection. Merchants felt safer moving goods across her territories. Markets grew larger. Wealth flowed into Zazzau from multiple directions. Gold, salt, textiles, knowledge. All of it passed through lands she controlled. And with each passing year, her reputation grew. Stories of Queen Amina of Zazzau spread across West Africa. Some called her unstoppable. Others called her fearless. Many simply called her legend. But what made her truly extraordinary was not just her victories. It was her endurance. Her campaigns are believed to have lasted over 3 decades. 30 years. Think about that. 30 years of leading armies. 30 years of making decisions that could determine life or death. 30 years of pressure, responsibility, and expectation. Yet she remained consistent, focused, driven. And there was something else about Amina that made her story even more powerful. She refused to be limited. In a time when expectations for women were narrow and defined, she broke every boundary. She didn't wait for permission. She didn't ask to be included. She took her place. Some stories suggest that she never married. Not because she couldn't, but because she chose not to. Because her purpose was larger than tradition. Her loyalty was to her kingdom, to her vision, to her legacy. And that decision, whether fully true or partly legend, adds to the mystery that surrounds her. Because Amina was not just living a life. She was building a story. One that would outlive her. But like all great rulers, her journey eventually reached its end. The exact details of her death remain uncertain, hidden within layers of history and oral tradition. Some say she died during one of her campaigns, still leading from the front. Others believe she passed after years of rule, her mission fulfilled. But regardless of how she died, what matters is how she lived. Because her impact did not end with her. Her name remained. Her walls remained. Her story remained. Today, in Nigeria, the legacy of Amina still echoes through time. In history books. In oral traditions. In the very land she once fought to protect. And beyond Nigeria, her name stands among the greatest leaders Africa has ever produced. Not because she followed the path, but because she created one. She showed that leadership is not defined by gender. That power is not inherited, it is proven. That courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward anyway. When you look at that image, the armor, the sword, the fire behind her, you're not just seeing a queen. You're seeing determination. You're seeing strategy. You're seeing a force that refused to be ignored. Because Queen Amina of Zazzau was never meant to be ordinary. She was meant to conquer, to build, to inspire. And centuries later, she still does. Not just a ruler, a warrior, not just a queen, a legacy, a name that history could not erase, even if it tried.